For a little while. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Before You Kill Yourself podcast. The podcast about not just suicide, but how to thrive. How do we cope with the ideations? How do we cope with the impulses, with the feelings, the thoughts, the how do we get past that? How do we evolve and not even it's not even I don't even think it's about getting rid of it. I think if you are trying to get rid of it, then there's a resistance that could make it worst. Did I put a T at the end of that? That could make it worse. So it's about how do we accept it? How do we manage it? And how do we find a way to uh, live and embrace life and engage life in spite of that. It's to me. It's I had a friend who, and before I even get into that, once again, before you kill yourself, call 1-800-SUICIDE or 277-TALK. There's just so many resources out there for you. There's so many people who want to talk to you. I'm sorry, not 277, 273-TALK. So 1-800-273-TALK or 1-800-SUICIDE. And if you're a teenager, 1-800-852-8336. The point is, there's so many people who want to talk to you, who are excited to talk to you, and want to help you through your thoughts, your ideas, your impulses, your feelings of loneliness and despair, and um, and and they're great at what they do. They have I've talked to so many different people who have worked on these hotlines, and their training is remarkable. Like I said, I've called the hotlines myself. Well, I've called one. I called the 1-800-SUICIDE, and I felt a million times better. It was like a power up. It was There's this book called Super Better, and I'm jumping all over the place right now. I'm a little sick, so I sound nasally. I've been fighting a horrible cold for the past few days, since actually New Year's Day, and which is my fault because I had a, a, a couple drinks and different drinks, and then I was working with somebody, I also personal train. One of my clients had the flu. And so it was just, I didn't sleep. I was traveling a lot, had a couple drinks, and then boom, work with somebody with the flu. So it was a confluence of factors. And now I've been in bed basically the past few days fighting this. But I was like, I got to get this podcast out. I release it every Monday morning. So right now it's Sunday, and recording this podcast, which, I'm glad it got me out of bed. You have to have those things that keep you in check. So today, what we're going to talk about, what are we talking about? You guys are like, what? He's just rambling. He's just going all over the place. And by the way, I'm taking everything for the cold, and nothing works. Today, we're going to talk about loneliness, the Cure for Loneliness, and we're going to review the book, or not review, but we're going to talk about the main takeaways from Kay Redfield Jamison's book, Night Falls Fast. So once again, we're going to talk about loneliness, and we're going to talk about the takeaways I got from the book, Night Falls Fast. And the reason why we want to go into talking about loneliness is because the Valentine's Day is coming up. So we just made it out Thanksgiving and the holiday and Christmas and New Year's. And a lot of people, felt disconnected or felt lonely or wish they had someone to kiss at midnight, and there was no one there, or they had somebody to kiss and they just didn't even feel connected to the person that they were with. And so, that there's also that in terms of feeling lonely, like where you're surrounded by a group of people and you still don't feel connected with those people. And so we're going to talk about that. And we're also other reason why we're going to talk about it now is because when we look at stats on suicide, the suicide rate goes up in the spring. It's actually, and we talked about this, it goes down in the winter. Right now, it's still winter, but it goes up in the spring. And I feel like one of the reasons is in the and the research shows us in the wintertime, people are more depressed, and so they don't quite have the energy to complete suicide. Whereas in the spring, when the sun is out and birds are chirping, people have more energy to actually complete it. So I think the other part of it is that in the wintertime, we isolate ourselves even more. It's cold outside, so we're not getting outside as much as we used to. We're not socializing. Even if we weren't socializing much, we're really not socializing as much in the wintertime. So what I'm urging you to do, and goes against what you probably are feeling, is to be proactive in engaging with other people, in surrounding yourself with a good support group, in um, making friends, making connections with other people so that when spring does come, Game of Thrones is always like winter is coming. But for people who struggle with suicidal ideation, it's not winter. Winter is not that's when we're safe for the most part. It's spring. Spring is when it's dangerous for us. When the light comes out and the birds are chirping and people are swimming and barbecuing and gathering, and then we're looking at our lives like, wow, we still everybody seems happy. And I think that's the other thing is it's a strong. You get to see where you are socially. You get to see so many people interacting and riding their bikes and having fun and all these barbecues, and none of which you're invited to. So you feel left out and you feel lonely. So we're going to talk about how to counteract that. And I also want to start off with, I want to read something from Night Falls Fast. I'm also YouTubing this live. So if I say something or do something you're like, that's weird, it's because I'm playing it for the camera. But I want to read this to you from Dorothy Parker's resume. It's a poem, and here it goes. Razors pain you, rivers are damp, acids stain you, and drugs cause cramp. Guns aren't lawful, nooses give. Gas smells awful, you might as well live. That's from Dorothy Parker's resume. It's so powerful, because I think, and what I love about that poem is that a lot of times when suicides are depicted, we see them as it looks almost painless for the most part, and quick, but a lot of times they're very painful. When they talk to people who have survived jumping from the Golden Gate Bridge, and yes, people have survived jumping from the Golden Gate Bridge. It's very painful. Hitting that water is not an immediate death for a lot of people. So I love that poem. Keep that in mind. So now let's get into it. Let's talk about. We have like 9 ways for us to fight loneliness. Because even I fight loneliness. It's like I'm in a group of people. I'm like, and here's what it is. Like, loneliness is really a perceptual state that depends more on the quality of a person's relationships than on their sheer number. People with few friends can feel fulfilled. People with vast social networks can feel empty and disconnected. And that's out of, psychology today. And it's so true. It's like you hear about so many celebrities who have a ton of friends and they still report feeling lonely or isolated. When you watch the Kardashians, they're not really interacting with a lot of people. They, for the most part, are to themselves. And they have their cocoon, their family. They've created their family as their cocoon, their tribe, but they're not really out and about. If you do see them out, they're going straight from the car into the restaurant or into the place. They're not just walking about the streets, nor can they at this moment in time. And so all these people who we think have these very rich social lives are in some ways very isolated. Like Michael Jordan and Will Smith, they can't just walk through the Grove or Times Square or any major outdoor place. And if you see video of them doing it, there's major security. It's been all planned ahead, and those people that they're surrounded by have been vetted. So it can be lonely, even if you're a celebrity or even if you have a million friends or 20 friends, and it seems counterintuitive. And I can see how, especially for teenagers who, if you have a lot of friends and you're like, why do I still feel lonely? Is something wrong with me? It's okay. Like that's what loneliness is that you can, because there are times where you could be to yourself. You could be physically by yourself and feel more connected and more alive that way than if you're with 100 people. And so remember, it's about how you feel versus what actually is. So feelings do count, right? So you want to be around people who make you feel connected. You want to be in situations that make you feel like you're a part of it, make you feel engaged. And the other part is that you can be around people who in the beginning make you feel connected and engaged, and then you reach a point where you feel disconnected. At that point, leave. Like, I find that after about 2 hours, especially if you're an introvert, 90 minutes to 2 hours is about my threshold for feeling connected and engaged. Like, I got to get out of there after that. And I even set my watch. I'm like, pew, like I take a pew, and I do an Irish goodbye. I don't even tell people I'm leaving. I just leave. I'm like, I don't have time for all this, all these shenanigans, all these goodbyes, all the shaking of the hands. I don't like to do that. But I will say I prefer to like hug people versus shake their hand. And you'll find that a lot of people don't like to be hugged. But I like to hug because it does release endorphins, and it just makes you feel good. You get the oxytocin. And it doesn't have to be like a tight hug. It doesn't have to be hip to hip. But there's something about a hug, and hold it maybe a little longer, like a half second longer, and get out of there. Excuse me. I told you I was a little sick. But so let's go into some ways that you can really feel connected. One of the ways, and I love this, is talk to strangers. People always say don't talk to strangers, but you should definitely talk to strangers. I am always talking to strangers, and on the elevator, at the coffee shops, as I'm walking, after shows, before shows. I like talking to strangers, especially if you live in a building. Because the building I live in, there's so many people here, and it's a little transient also because there are a lot of college students who live in the building, and so it's very easy to not know anyone. So I intentionally go to the hot tub. We have a pool in the building. I attend the common areas, the barbecue areas, just so I can get to know people and interact and be around them for a short period of time. I'm not trying to be out there forever, but just for a short period of time so that I feel connected. And plus, in case I run out of sugar or butter, or I need to use a tool, a utensil. I don't want to feel like I'm asking a stranger for that kind of thing. I like to know that I know people, and then as you go on, people start to introduce you to other people. So don't feel like you always have to be proactive in meeting people and talking to strangers. People after a time will start to introduce you to other people, and then your social group will just kind of grow exponentially from there. And like, like most introverts, I don't need a lot of friends, but I do like to feel connected, and I don't like to feel like a stranger in my own building. Like, to me, it's just weird when you get in an elevator and and there's just like this awkward silence between you and the other person, the other people in the elevator. You should be able to have, like, quick small talk. Hey, how you doing? The weather's crazy. The game. Make a comment on um, something they're holding. Usually people are carrying something, or they have like some type of logo, jewelry, something. Like, you can people love compliments. Like, just to be like, oh, that looks really great on you. Oh, you really put that together nicely. Like, uh, to be able to practice complimenting people without needing anything back, right? Like, you're just doing it because and after a while you'll find that people respond kindly to that, and they love that, and then you'll feel more comfortable talking to people like that. Oh, your hair looks amazing today, or your energy. People love to be complimented on their energy. I've really discovered that. How you have really great energy, you know. Um, so take advantage of that. Talk to strangers, talk to the mail person, talk to the cashier, just talk to people. You don't have to say a lot, but just a little something. You just kind of want to, basically what you want to do is over time build a rapport. You don't have to you don't have to get the entire bio in one conversation. You're just trying to expand the conversation every time you two meet. One of my buddies who's in sales said that you people love to talk about their family, their occupation, their recreation, and their, what is the M? I forgot what the M is. It's called form. But if you get people to talk about their family, their job, and what they love to do for fun, and then there's the M, and I forgot what the M is. But then they'll feel more connected to you, and they'll remember you, and you'll stand out. So for those of you out there like trying to get the girl, and you're like, oh man, that girl's not really paying me any attention. One of the ways to get that girl to pay you attention is to get other people to pay you attention. And then she'd be like, "Oh, that guy's really cool," and then she'll want to be a part of your circle. So sometimes the best way is the indirect way. Sometimes you gotta go right to go left. You know what I mean? You feel me? Like Waze. Like Waze is always trying to, yeah, like Waze. Anyway, the second thing in terms of feeling connected and not being and handling loneliness is when you talk to someone, give it like a few minutes. It's not always going to start off. You're not always just going to hit it off immediately. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes before the conversation really starts to connect and you guys start to click, and you figure out if this is a conversation you want to continue to have. Not everybody, I don't care how great they are as a conversationalist. Not everybody hits it off right away. I was New Year's Eve. Me and Brian Callen, we did a show. We did two shows at the Irvine Improv, and after the show, we had a few people backstage. And for the most part, like, Brian Callen is so charismatic. He's such a great storyteller that he was holding court, and all eyes were on him. And I wasn't saying anything, and then there was a moment where he asked me something. This had to be like 20 or 30 minutes uh, into him pontificating and sharing his stories, where he asked me about my trip to Pakistan. And then boom, all of a sudden, all eyes on me. And then I was able to connect with everybody in the room, and then everyone started talking to me. So my point is that the conversation doesn't you're not always going to be able to jump in the conversation immediately, but there will be a window, there will be a moment where the conversation just clicks, and you all just click, and then there's this current, this fluidity of the situation that happens, right? So yeah, give it a few minutes. It doesn't have to. Oh, what's the opening line? What's the first thing? Just say anything. Be real. Just whatever it is. Hey, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to. But I just want to say blah blah blah. Be honest. Um, the other thing is schedule FaceTime. Schedule FaceTime. Now, the reason why you want to schedule FaceTime because looking at looking at somebody's eyes, looking into their eyes allows you to look into their soul. And when you can look into their soul, you feel connected. So, instead of just calling someone, FaceTime them. And I know it's weird, and I see, it's like there are a lot of Asians who live in my building, and this is nothing against Asians, but I'll always see them FaceTiming. The girls, I should say, the girls are always FaceTiming each other, and they just have the biggest smiles on their face. So if when you call someone, see if you can FaceTime. It feels a little weird, and I know it's not always convenient, but it's not so much about and when I say FaceTime, I'm talking about the iPhone FaceTime. Is that there's something powerful about being able to look in someone's eyes and really connect and seeing their emotions and such. Because a lot of times we text so much, and so much gets lost in a text. So much gets lost in an emoji. There's not an emoji for every emotion, right? So we have to FaceTime because there's so many times where I've sent a text, and then there'll be times where I want to send a text, and I go, I don't think this is gonna come across like no matter how I word this, it could be taken either way. So at that point, I call or I FaceTime. But actually, I have to be honest, I don't really FaceTime that much, but I'm working on it. My sister loves to FaceTime me with her nephew. And I actually like every time I see it, I'm like, "Ugh." But then when I pick up and I FaceTime, I feel so much better after. It's funny, right? How the things that you feel resistant to once, like a workout, once you do it, you feel amazing afterwards. You would think that the things that have consistently made you feel good and made you feel great, you would always be excited for. But that's not the case. It's not the case at all. All right. Sorry about that, boys and girls. But now, the number four, if you can't FaceTime, then actually FaceTime. So meet, like schedule lunches with people, schedule coffees with people, even if it's something that is a month away, 6 months away, a year from now, whatever. Schedule, say, hey, do you want to meet for lunch Sunday, 2 p.m.? No, yes, whatever. Boom. It's just fun. It's exciting to know that you got this thing scheduled with a person in the future. And it might get canceled, but you know what happens? Here's what happens. You get excited. And when you get excited, then it makes you want to get work done and do stuff and be proactive, and it helps you build momentum. So say you schedule a lunch with somebody that you really want to have lunch with on Sunday, but it's Wednesday, right? So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, like you have so much excitement built in about Sunday that you're crushing it. So even if Sunday they cancel, who cares? You've gotten so many other things done because of the excitement from having scheduled that lunch. It's great. I mean, ideally, you would hope that they don't cancel. But the point is that it gives you energy. It releases endorphins. It gets you excited. It's like a movie's coming out Friday that you really want to see. Like you get super excited, super stoked, and then you go, oh man, if I'm gonna go see this movie, let me go work out and then do this and do that, and then I can see the movie. Like it's amazing the things that you how much energy and momentum you have when there's something you're excited about. So you have to build in those excitements, and nothing excites because we're tribal, we're people. Like we love to be around. Most of us love to be around people as human beings. Like that's our thing. So and it doesn't have to be a lunch or a coffee. It could be, hey, let's just go hang out at the park bench for a few hours, or, go feed pigeons or go for a walk. Like schedule something with another person to do, as opposed to waiting for someone to contact you, right? This is about being proactive. This is about engaging with your social life, right? And I'm telling you, you just feel better. A little one-on-one time. All right, number 5, and I love this one. This is my favorite one. Use Facebook wisely. My sister taught me this. So, and I have to get better at this also. This is one of the things I want to work. I'm working on is that instead of just going on Facebook to see what people are posting and see what's in the feeds and blah blah blah, go on Facebook and join a group. Join a group or join like 1 to 3 groups that you are really passionate about and that you really want to be a part of, that you really want to engage in, and then only interact with those groups. It will give your time on social media so much more of a purpose and so much more of a real connection. And it's like my sister, she is really into, excuse me, she's really into finances. And so she's joined like 2 or 3 finance groups on Facebook, and she loves them. So now when she goes on Facebook, she's really only going on to those groups because those are like-minded people. And the great thing about that is, a lot of times, I have like 5,000. A lot of times, you don't know what people are going to post, what you're going to see in your feed, in your public feed. People post all types of crazy things, and some of the things can trigger you and set you off. But like when you join a group, groups are usually very well moderated to the point where you don't have to worry about seeing things that you don't want to see because there are rules and regulations for those groups. So instead of just, getting on Facebook and mindlessly scrolling through, join a group or create a group. Create a group in, law of attraction and draw people towards you who, that you want to be connected with. So use your Facebook time wisely. And if you are on Facebook, and you don't want to join a group and that's too much for you, another way to use it wisely is to um, only post positive comments in people's feeds. Be like, oh man, that's so amazing that you got the promotion. I'm so happy for you and your family and blah, blah, blah. Or show appreciation. Hey man, I just want to say I appreciate you. I love everything you're doing. Keep posting. Your posts light up my day, etc., etc. Drop some love bombs. Drop those love bombs out there on Facebook. Just don't use it for as a distraction. Because when we use Facebook as a distraction, we don't feel too good afterwards. It doesn't make us. It doesn't make me feel good. It drains your energy. And time goes by very quickly, and you just feel like, oh, what was that? It's kind of like eating fast food. So find some groups, and it'll take you some time. Like I said, none of this is stuff that is going to happen overnight, but it's going to take you some time, right? So use your Facebook time wisely. Uh-oh, somebody's feeling a little better. Not. Um, oh, they also have book clubs on Facebook. I love books. Night Falls Fast is good. But so check that out on Facebook. All right. Number 6. Number 6. Be a good neighbor. Be a good neighbor, man. I the other day when I was flying to, where was I going? I think I was going to Vegas, and I had just bought juices. And I think I talked about this in the last episode. But I bought way too many juices, and I wasn't going to finish it, and they would have gone bad by the time I got back. So I gave them to a neighbor, and her face just man. When I tell you, and this is a neighbor I've never talked to, I never knocked on her door. I've always been aware of, but never talked to. And when I knocked on her door, I was like, "Hey, I got some juices. You want these juices?" She was like, "Oh, yeah, I love juices." And then her face just lit up. And it's like, I just really felt like I made her day. And it made me feel great. I felt great that I was a part of making someone else feel great. So, drop a letter off at somebody's house, or make something out of origami, a little project, or share. It doesn't have to be a thing. It doesn't have to be food. It could be food. It could be you could make something. If you have a wood chopper, if you're good with your hands, you could cut your neighbor's grass. There are just so many ways to be a good neighbor. Ask them if they need anything. If you're going to the store, say, "Hey, I'm going to the store. Do you want me to pick you up anything?" Um, be a good neighbor. If you have, like, if you know good people in a neighborhood, like good uh I keep saying but like dog walkers, resources. If you're aware of resources that you think would be helpful for your neighbors, let them know. There's a Nextdoor app that is really good for posting that kind of thing. It's called Nextdoor. It's an app, but it's also something that you can access from your laptop or computer or iPad. And and it helps you connect with people in your neighborhood. And people share all types of information in terms of resources and events and things for sale, and all types of stuff, parties. Um, you know, why not? What am I trying to think of? Any dangers, anything to look out for, any alerts. So next door, check that out. It really is helping people feel more connected. It's also scaring a lot of people because you become way more aware of the dangers in your neighborhood than are reported in the news. So, be a good neighbor. Sometimes, sweep up stuff. There was some dirt in our hallway in the building, and I just grabbed my broom and dustpan, and I cleaned it up, instead of calling the manager and waiting for the manager to get involved, or the janitor, right? It's like I just took care of it myself. So we have to remember that it's not just about taking care of our bodies; it's about taking care of our house, and then our community, and our neighborhood, and our city, and our country, and our world. Like, we're all connected. Like, just because the trash is way on the other side doesn't mean it doesn't affect our well-being. Um, it's like if I have a dirty bathroom, oh, it just makes me feel I gotta clean it. I don't like dirty spaces, whether it's in my house or in my neighborhood. I don't like to see it. I go for a walk every day and I see trash in the marina, and it kind of throws the walk off a little bit. I'm like, man, I just want to get in there and clean all of it up. But then, anyway, so be a good neighbor, do what you can. And even though I'm making it sound hopeless, it's like clean up as much as you can, do something until that feeling goes away. You don't have to get it all. You'll never get it all, because people, will always pollute in some way. But to make an effort, that's what makes us feel good, to know that we did something, do something, right? Number 7, throw a dinner party. Now, I know this isn't always feasible for most people, but it's basically the idea of, like, invite people over. It doesn't have to be a dinner party. It could be a barbecue. It could be an invite to the beach. It doesn't have to be a lot of people. It could be a few people, an intimate group. It could be 2 people, then it grows into 4 people, then it grows into 6 and 8 and 10. There's a website called Meetup, um, meetup.com. And there's a million different groups on there in different areas. And people meet up. It's kind of like the next door thing, but this is just for people who want to meet up. If you want to go to a comedy show, or go to dinner, or play volleyball, events, book signings, things like that, check out meetup.com. And it's in a lot of cities, and you can start your own meetup group for whatever, bike enthusiasts, cooking, things of that nature. Check out meetup.com to really get connected with your neighborhood. And throw a little shindig at your house, invite a few people over, little front yard barbecue, or even have like a rummage sale or garage sale or something. Sell some stuff out of your house, something, but there's so many ways that you can be creative and interact with people. One of my neighbors, um, one of my friends, her and all the stay-at-home moms, they get together once a month and they have wine and discuss books. But I think they drink more wine than they do discuss books. I don't know, but you know, get involved and be proactive. Number 8, uh, get creative. Now, get creative, and that's you like get creative. That sounds so vague. Get creative in terms of how you communicate with people. Not everybody wants to or can or is comfortable with verbal communication. And in that case, it could be written, it could be artistic. There are a lot of painting groups now where people get together and they drink wine and they paint paintings. And even if you can't paint, it's not about painting. It's about just doing something with other people and connecting in that way. Sending letters. Send letters if you're not comfortable. Showing up and knocking on people's door or talking to people in the elevator. Uh, start a pen, become a pen pal, write to people, write to write to your councilman, write to celebrities, write to people that you want to work with, you want to collaborate with, write to your friends, write to your childhood friends, write to family members. When was the last time you received a written letter? And if writing is not your thing, then draw something or create something and send it as a um, as a thank you or an appreciation. There's so many ways that you can or record a video, a short video of telling a story. There are just so many ways that you can creatively connect with other people. That's why I do this podcast. Write a book, or your journal or something. It's like I do this podcast as a way to connect with people, and it's helped me connect with so many different people from all over the world. This podcast is being downloaded. It's crazy when I look at the stats. Every week we double in downloads, and Finland, Canada, the Ukraine. Where else was there? United Kingdom, Australia. All these different places are downloading this podcast. So if Finland, people in Finland are listening, and it feels incredible to know that what I'm sharing is resonates with people all over the world. And so find a way for you to communicate, connect, and converse with people the way that you're comfortable with, whether it's a drawing or a painting or what have you. Find your lane. There's a way for you to really connect with people. All right, and number nine, the last one is talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about it. About it. Talk about it. Talk about it. About it. I don't know why I did that. Before I get into number 9, I want to say that I was going to do Night Falls Fast today, but my throat is killing me right now. So I'm going to end it with this loneliness, but I'm going to cover A Night Falls Fast in the next podcast. But I am going to need some time for my voice to recover from this. All right. Number 9 is talk about it. And this goes back to picking up the phone, dialing 1-800-SUICIDE, calling a friend, calling a sponsor, calling a mentor, calling a family person, call someone and talk to them. Talk to your therapist, talk to your coach, talk to your boss. And it doesn't have to be long conversations. Talk to your teacher. Just say, hey, can I have 5 minutes of your time after school, before work, during lunch, blah blah blah. And Here's how you have the conversation. You say, I'm really feeling disconnected, and I really like to explore ways for us to connect, or for me to feel connected. Do you have any ideas? Or I'm really feeling lonely or isolated, or start off with how you're feeling. I'm really feeling such and such, and I'd love to explore ways that I could feel more connected or more engaged, or things that I can do. Because people love, I think a lot of times when people don't like to ask for help is because they think it makes them feel weak or vulnerable. But however, if you take ownership for how you feel, and you start off with how you feel, because the other way you could approach it is to say, man, it sucks working here, man. Nobody invites me to anything. So, to complain, people don't like to hear complaining. But if you say, here's how I'm feeling, and I love to explore ways for me not to feel like this, then people love to be involved and help people in a very proactive way, in a very powerful way. So, talk to people, communicate, ask them for, hey, what are strategy? Like when you go to a party, how do you connect with people? What are your strategies for talking to strangers, or things like that? Like, myself, I'm constantly talking to people and asking people questions about that involve social dynamics, influence, connection, um, uh, building relationships, networking, work, things of that nature. I'm constantly um, Steve Jobs said, have a childlike mind, be a 9-year old. I'm constantly in a state of curiosity. So never feel like you're gonna get it. You're never gonna absolutely get it or nail it, right? Um, and that's exciting, because that means that you're always learning something. Like, you're never out of school. Like, school doesn't end. When school is over, there's summer school, and so you're always learning. You're always in a state of exploration, and so talk to people. Journaling is a way to talk. You can journal something, and then share it. There's a Penzu that's online, where you can make your journal private or public, and then people can comment, and so that's a way for you to connect with people. And it doesn't have to be the entire journal. It could just be the entry for that day that you make public, and people can comment on. So there's different chat rooms and such. So there's so many different ways for us to connect and get out there, and not feel lonely. Um, because loneliness is, man, if by feeling lonely, and the reason why we got to take this so seriously, is it exponentially increases your chances of Alzheimer's, right, and other types of dementia, and things like that. So feeling connected to people is something that we definitely need to take very seriously. And with that said, what I have coming up, I'll be in Vegas this weekend at the Vegas Comedy Cellar, this Monday the 7th through Sunday the 13th. I think it's the 13th. And then I'm in Philly the weekend after, and then I'm back in Vegas, and then a week off, and then I'm back. I'm just back and forth in Vegas. Go to leoflowers.com for those show dates. And so I want to leave you guys with this. And I haven't even figured out what I'm going to leave you guys with, but I do want to leave you guys with something fun and positive and up note, is that I myself been struggling with feeling connected and lonely, and I realize, like, as an introvert, I can be too much to myself, and then I sometimes I go the other direction, where I'm too much around other people, and just like trying to find that balance. So just know that everyone has their internal struggle. no matter what their life is like, no matter what they look like, no matter what their status is, we're all going through something. And as long as we can keep that in mind, it allows us to empathize with people and realize that we all have our thing. And as long as you keep that in mind, then you realize we always have something in common with someone else. If you talk to someone long enough, right? Like if two people are stranded on an island, if two people are stranded on an island and they come from completely different backgrounds, at some point they're gonna connect and really bond on something. Think about it, like Tom Hanks bonded with a volleyball. And I know that's a movie, but we all know people who are very connected to material objects, whether it's their cell phone or bike or instrument, a car, whatever it is. And so it's a very real thing. But the point is if over time, some relationships will build immediately, and some will take months, if not years, to build. But the point is that we just keep showing up, we keep working at it, and know that there is no end game. It's something that we have to always be feeding. It's like a fire, right? Like there's got to be putting a little something in there to keep it going. So thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Before You Kill Yourself podcast. And so remember, journal, exercise, read, meditate, do your self affirmations, go for a walk, cook something, take a little bath, take a little bath. Why not? Take a hot Epsom salt bubble bath, and we'll see you guys Thursday. Peace.